2022 Toyota Venza. Is it a hybrid SUV worth buying? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome to Car Corner, where we help you, the consumer, master the process of car buying and car ownership. It's no secret that Toyota is a leader when it comes to making hybrid vehicles. The company has been making hybrids for well over 2 decades, and they have a lineup of hybrids that's larger than pretty much any other car brand. They've even reached the point where some of their latest models are only available as a hybrid, including the Sienna minivan, the latest Sequoia SUV, and the one that I'm test driving here, the Venza crossover. But the Venza is far from the only hybrid SUV that you can buy at this price point. There are a lot of great hybrid SUVs to consider, including the Honda CR-V hybrid, the Hyundai Tucson, and the Santa Fe hybrid, or even something more luxurious like the Lexus NX350H. So how exactly does the Venza compare to all of these SUVs, and is it the best hybrid SUV that you can buy for the money? Well, make sure to stick around until the end of the video, because that's what we're going to find out. So for those who don't know, the Venza was introduced back in 2020 as a slightly more expensive and more upscale version of the RAV4 hybrid. Now, when it was first introduced, I naturally assumed that the Venza was going to be a little bit larger and more spacious than the RAV4, but as it turns out, they're both very similar in size, and they also have a very similar amount of interior space and cargo space too. So it does seem a little bit redundant for the Venza to even exist, since it does overlap with the RAV4 hybrid, but hybrid SUVs are extremely popular, so I could definitely see why there's room for both. And there are some pretty obvious differences, like the design, for example. The Venza is a lot more premium looking than the RAV4, which is a pretty conventional looking boxy SUV by comparison. The Venza, by comparison, does have a more luxurious look, and it kind of resembles a Lexus more than a Toyota, which I guess is a very good thing. But the major difference between the two is the fact that the Venza is only sold as a hybrid, whereas with the RAV4 you have a choice with a gas engine, a hybrid, or even a plug-in hybrid with the RAV4 Prime. Now, the fact that the Venza is only sold as a hybrid is definitely not a bad thing, because I really believe that this is one of the very best hybrid systems that you can buy. For one thing, it's incredibly fuel efficient. The Venza is able to achieve up to around 40 miles per gallon or 6 liters per 100 kilometers, which is phenomenal fuel economy for an SUV of this size. And not only is it incredibly fuel efficient, but it also has great performance too. The total system output for the hybrid is around 219 horsepower, which gives it more than adequate acceleration. But not only do you get amazing fuel economy and ample performance, but this is also a very refined hybrid system too. It's incredibly smooth and quiet, and the transition between the electric mode and the gas engine turning on and off is very seamless too. It just goes to show that Toyota really knows what it's doing when it comes to making a really good hybrid system. They've been doing it for well over 2 decades and have more experience than pretty much any other car brand, which brings me to the next major advantage, the reliability. There's no question about it. If you're looking for a reliable hybrid SUV that's going to last you as long as possible with minimal repair costs, you really can't go wrong choosing a Toyota. Even though hybrids are naturally a lot more complicated than a regular gas engine, given the fact that you have an engine, an electric motor, and a battery pack, Toyota knows how to make a durable hybrid system that lasts a very long time. For one thing, unlike some other car brands like Hyundai and Kia, which use turbo engines for their hybrid systems, which are even more complicated and put a lot of pressure on the engine, leading to even more problems down the road, Toyota just sticks with a simple, naturally aspirated engine, which is a lot better for durability and longevity too. Not only do you get a very simple, naturally aspirated engine, but you also get an eCVT transmission that uses a planetary gear set, which is also known for its longevity too. And just like the RAV4 hybrid, the Venza only comes with all-wheel drive, which is another huge selling point for a lot of buyers. Now, some might be wondering about the longevity of the hybrid battery pack, but again, with Toyota's reputation for reliability, it's not really a major concern. You get an 8-year warranty on most of the hybrid components, plus a 10-year warranty on the hybrid battery pack, which is longer than most other car brands. And even well past 10 years and hundreds of thousands of miles when the battery eventually needs replacing, because Toyota hybrids have been around for so long, there are aftermarket and rebuild options for the batteries, so you don't need to go for a very expensive brand new Toyota battery when that needs to be done. Put all of that together and you ultimately get a lot more peace of mind when compared to most of the other hybrid SUVs that you can buy. Now, of course, most of the same could also be said of other Toyota hybrids, like say the RAV4 hybrid or even the Lexus NX350H. But when you compare the Toyota Venza against some of the other hybrid SUVs that are available, like say the Tucson and Santa Fe hybrid or the Kia Sorento hybrid, you just get a lot more peace of mind with the Venza. And not only are you getting an SUV with a great reputation for reliability, but you're also getting a very comfortable driving one too. The handling and cornering performance are nothing to really brag about, but if you're just looking for a comfortable SUV to drive every day, this is going to do the job perfectly fine. I've been driving this thing around all week and I really couldn't be much happier with it. Having said that though, I do have a few minor complaints, and they mostly have to do with the interior space. Now there's nothing really wrong with the design of the interior. This is actually a very nice place to spend time, and it does feel a little bit more upscale and premium than a lot of other Toyota SUVs. My only minor issue with it has to do with the functionality of most of the main controls, at least in the higher trim levels. If you go for the base Venza LE model, you get an 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system with a pretty straightforward control setup below it. But if you go for any of the higher trim levels, you get a much larger 12.3-inch infotainment system and a touch-sensitive control panel. Now the only real issue with this is that the touch-sensitive controls are pretty finicky to use while driving, and they're nowhere near as straightforward as just having simple buttons and knobs. And even though it is nice having a larger touchscreen infotainment system, you don't really get any other benefit because it has the exact same user interface as the smaller screen and the same basic menu structure. It's a little bit unfortunate that Toyota hasn't upgraded the Venza with the latest infotainment system that you get on the new BZ4X and the Tundra pickup truck. The user interface on the Venza's infotainment system does have rather dated looking graphics. Having said that though, it is pretty straightforward to use, and it does come with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto capability. Aside from the functionality of the control setup though, this is a very nice interior. And if you go for the higher trim level, you do get some pretty interesting features, including a full color head-up display, a rear view mirror that doubles as a backup camera, and even a full panoramic glass roof that you can change between having a clear mode and a frosted mode, which is pretty neat. You also get lots of great active safety technology as part of Toyota Safety Sense, which comes standard on every single trim level. And not only is this a feature-packed SUV, but it's also a rather practical one too, with plenty of space in both the front and rear seats, and you also have a really good sized cargo area too. Thankfully, the hybrid battery pack doesn't intrude on the interior space, so you still get back seats that can be folded flat with a huge cargo area to hold all your stuff. Now when it comes to pricing, the Venza is more expensive than a comparable RAV4 hybrid. Given the fact though that the Venza is a more luxurious looking and feeling SUV when compared to the RAV4, I think the price premium is more or less justified. There's no question that the Venza does look and feel like a more expensive and more luxurious SUV than the RAV4, so I think the price difference does make sense. So how exactly does the Venza compare against other similar hybrid SUVs from other brands, like say for example the Honda CR-V? For one thing, it has very similar fuel economy and interior space, and it also has a great reputation for reliability like the Toyota too. I don't think that the CR-V hybrid, however, is quite as luxurious as the Venza, at least not the outgoing model. Maybe that'll change when Honda introduces a brand new CR-V for 2023, which is going to be available as a hybrid and available North America wide, unlike the current CR-V hybrid, which is only sold in the United States. And then you have the hybrid SUVs from Hyundai, the Santa Fe and the Tucson hybrid, which are very good alternatives too. My only concern with those two though is the long-term reliability, which is a little bit more questionable when compared to the Toyota. The fact that they use a turbo engine is a little bit more problematic because turbos do tend to have more issues over time when compared to a naturally aspirated engine. Now, if you're only planning on buying one of these to hold on to for say 5 to 8 years under warranty, then you really don't have anything to be concerned about. But if you do want to keep one for as long as possible with minimal repair costs, then you are safer going with the Venza. The same could also be said of the brand new Kia Sorento and the Kia Sportage or the Sportage in Canada. These SUVs use the exact same hybrid systems as the Hyundai, so they do come with the same reliability concerns. Now the one last piece to consider in all of this is vehicle availability. Because there is a very severe industry-wide car shortage and hybrids are in very high demand with very limited availability, it might be difficult to buy one of these depending on where you're located. But that being said, that could be the case with pretty much any hybrid or electrified vehicle at this time. For example, where I'm located in Ontario, the waiting period for a Hyundai Santa Fe or Tucson hybrid is 1 to 2 years long. In fact, checking on the availability of Toyota hybrids for my location, RAV4 hybrids seem to have a waiting period of around 6 to 8 months, and Venzas around 4 to 6 months. So, at least where I'm located, they seem to be the easiest hybrid SUVs that you can buy. At the end of the day, you're not going to go wrong choosing the Venza hybrid. In fact, it's such a good SUV that it might even be better than the RAV4 hybrid. I guess I'm going to have to drive the two back to back and really see which one is better. In the meantime, let me know what you think of the 2022 Toyota Venza Hybrid. Would you buy it over another hybrid SUV from Hyundai, Kia, Honda, or Lexus? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. You can also take a look at some of my other car videos by checking out these links over here. Make sure you follow me on TikTok and Instagram. And if you need additional car buying advice, recommendations, or help with getting a great deal on your next new car purchase, make sure to check out carhelpcanada.com. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.